Hi, everyone. It's Joan Kaler. Welcome in once again to Energy Experts. I always get excited every time I talk to you because my guests are absolutely amazing. And same today. She is fantastic. So, this is going to be very interesting today. All of you out there listening and watching, I know you have open minds and are very curious. That is why I love doing this podcast, to bring you information that is off the beaten path, because that's me. I have never been in the box. I've always thought out of the box. So, in accordance with that, my guest today is I'm going to read from this fabulous book, by the way. Dr. Kerri Husman. Okay, let me put my glasses on. That would really help matters. Okay. And I'm reading her bio from this fantastic book that we're going to talk about and her chapter in it. Dr. Kerri Husman is a licensed integrative psychiatrist in Iowa and Colorado. Okay, Iowa and Colorado. Perk your ears up here. Specializing in energy psychology, hypnosis, functional approaches, and psychedelics, ketamine. Her expertise and compassionate approach aim to support your recovery, focusing on trauma, spiritual emergency, neuroplasticity, pain, and treatment-resistant conditions, fostering trust and confidence. So much for my glasses. She offers a holistic, personalized approach that truly values your unique journey. By tailoring her support to your specific needs and encouraging self-care and supportive goals between sessions, she aims to make you feel seen, understood, and empowered in your healing process. So, Dr. Husman is not your typical psychiatrist. Trust me on that one. She has so many letters after her name that rather than list them all here, please check her bio that I will be putting in this podcast, or the podcast would be over if I listed all her credentials. But welcome in, Dr. Husman. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Joan. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Yeah. Well, I always like my favorite guests to be repeat guests. Everybody's my favorite, but Dr. Husman is particularly my favorite. She's also chair of the board of directors of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, of which I have been a member since his birth back in 1998. So, having said that, I want to show you something really cool. Check it out, people. The Awakened Healer. This is, okay, let me get this straight here. 18 pathways to healing, wholeness, and conscious living. I mean, this is so cool. It's on Amazon's bestseller list. And check this out on the back. 18 amazing healers. Before we talk to Gary, I want to show you a couple of people here. This is just so cool.
It is. It is such a great group.
Oh
Just
my
amazing.
gosh. Okay. The architecture of intimacy and I'll let you help me with this, Carrie. Brenda Z Zybert, Zybert,
Zybert, yeah.
Zybert. Okay. Okay. One of the authors. Then we go to the ancient solution to modern stress and anxiety with Jose, it looks like Mendoza.
Hmm.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to do all 18 people, do not worry, but I wanted you to see some of the authors in this book because it's so fascinating. So the next one, you're going to love this. The Power of Cats. with Sylvie Sterling. Check it out.
Hmm.
Okay, folks? And then we come to the guest of today. I've got so many things in here. From Fear to Freedom, Learning to Navigate Spirits in the Middle World. Here
There
she
we
is.
go.
Okay. And those are only four of the 18 authors of this fabulous book. So, okay, check it out at your favorite bookstore on Amazon. There's my commercial, but more importantly, or just as important, so Dr. Husman talks about the spirit world or your journey into the spirit world. So, okay, take it away and tell us what your
Well,
chapter is about.
so this chapter is written to help better support, provide hope, provide understanding and opportunity for folks who have had experiences living here in the middle world that have been unsettling with regard to the other, sensing the spirit world, sensing non-ordinary reality. And we go into describing how that happens, how 15 to 30% of the population is highly sensitive. And folks who are highly sensitive, and I know many of them, as do you, and we probably both fit in that category,
Mhm.
highly sensitive is actually a gift and is inherited. You got it from somebody or both of your parents, and it is inherited across species. So
Ooh.
there are highly sensitive cats and dogs too, not just people
Mhm.
and other species. So this ability to sense the subtle energy around you goes hand in hand with being able to sense the spirit world. And for some people, that is glorious and beautiful and joyful and wonderful. And for other people, it is terrifying and tragic and devastating and fear based because of what they've happened to experience. So if all you saw were mean, cruel, violent things that you might be calling evil when you sensed things going on around you, that would be terrifying, be a horrible way to go, right? And when people have had those experiences, and I grew up having some of those experiences myself, it makes you think that's all there is to experience out there. What this
Mhm.
chapter does is help people understand that there is more to be experienced. I've lived and witnessed that myself personally. And so my story is only a small part of it, but it does help understand how I got here and that I'm not making this up.
When you talk about, explain to everybody who's listening and watching the middle world.
So, great question, Joan. So, the middle world is planet Earth and the cosmos. So, you know, Zubin El Ganubi in the Libra constellation, that is in ordinary reality in the cosmos in the middle world, right? Just like our planet Earth, just like the moon, just like the sun,
Okay.
and everything that inhabits this place and possibly other places, right? So, the middle world has two elements. It has ordinary reality. I got my desk here, I got my phone, we're here in Zoom. Does
Mhm.
Zoom have a spirit? Probably so. Um, and so ordinary reality is everything that you can feel, touch, the wind that you feel in the breeze, the rain when it touches you. This is all ordinary reality.
Mhm.
Non-ordinary reality also exists here in the middle world. That can be called various things. It could be called the shamanic state of consciousness, trance, hypnosis. It is shifting your consciousness to be able to experience what else is present here in the middle world. So
Mhm.
this could be done through meditation, kundalini kriyas, breath work, shamanic journeying, lots of ways to experience it. And the middle world lies in between the upper world and the lower world in shamanic traditions. throughout time and throughout the continents. So it doesn't matter which shamanic culture you've come upon, possibly in a jungle and living their own traditions still, or possibly in a place where those traditions were made illegal and
Mm.
their shamanic tools were taken away, right? The worlds exist in this same way, where these cultures for tens of thousands of years have practiced this way and have not been in direct contact with one another. They've come to these same conclusions, which is rather fascinating. And so the upper world and lower world is separate from the middle world by boundaries or barriers and transition zones, depending on how you describe it. And these upper world and lower world locations are only existent in non ordinary reality. You have to be in a trance to get there,
Hmm. Okay.
right? You can't can't take a ship there, and somehow you're no longer in the cosmos. You're in the upper world, right? You can't dig far enough down, like books like Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth or Alice in Wonderland. Those are shamanic stories, right? You've come down through the earth, through water, and now you're in a new landscape. There may even be a sun. How's that possible, right? But these non ordinary reality spaces in shamanic traditions throughout space and time are compassionate places filled with compassionate, evolved, helping spirits there to potentially provide you knowledge, wisdom, healing, protection, whatever you need by journeying to them. So they can be extraordinary helpers. They can also come to the middle world to assist you, provide protection, wisdom, support, healing, and be your bodyguards if that's the case, or provide assistance to you if you're providing healing to someone else.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Gosh. So I'm going to ask a very provocative question here.
Go for it.
In mental health, in our middle world, if somebody has the diagnosis of schizophrenia,
Hmm.
could they be experiencing a lower or an upper world instead of the middle world?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, Joan, and I don't know that I've thought about it that way before. Um, so, when people have schizophrenia, it is possible that they are sensing non ordinary reality.
Yes.
And typically, they are sensing the middle world in non
Okay.
ordinary reality. They're generally not experiencing pleasant compassion, empowerment, and support. They're
Right.
struggling and suffering with schizophrenia. And so imagine if you could see, feel, sense, and experience everything that's going on around you as if it was like the fully opaque body of your
Mm.
neighbor and your family member. And it was just as real as your desk and your clothes and everything else around you, just as real. That becomes extraordinarily difficult to navigate almost immediately.
Yes.
I remember years ago, so this would have been in like 96 or 94, somewhere in there. I went to the American Psychiatric Association meeting in San Diego, where it generally is held. And I put on some virtual reality headset that was designed. It was the people who, one of the antipsychotics, that was had this. It was created by a designer who was also someone who suffered with schizophrenia. And he created this so that the wearer, typically a practitioner, could sense what it felt like to have schizophrenia.
Ooh.
And so the task was you put on the VR headset and you um, were in a pharmacy and having to go through navigating the aisles of the pharmacy to get to the checkout, the requesting the prescription be filled, and then picking up the prescription, and the things popping out and talking to you, showing up in strange places, kind of haunting you, bothering you, intruding in your life. It was really unsettling.
Mm.
Like, I will never forget that experience. It was similar to what I experienced when I was in late elementary school, when I had the experience with the deceased couple who wanted me to basically take out my parents because they weren't my real parents and they were trying to convince me of otherwise, and only come to find out I'm toxic on my asthma medication, that people didn't check genetic predispositions for those things back then,
Right.
to know that you're a poor metabolizer and this blood level's way too high. They check blood levels on that medicine now, but they didn't back then. It was brand new.
Mm.
And so I had that experience and I knew what that felt like. And so putting that headset on, I was like, oh my gosh, it was a lot to experience. But I was really glad that I did it because it reminded me of just how difficult and challenging it is, moment to moment, day to day, for someone with schizophrenia.
Mm. Mm. So sad. I've often wondered that now that I'm reading the book and I know you, and then thinking, well, maybe it's a negative per somebody who's died, and somehow this person they attached their spirit attached to somebody.
Yeah, so possession illness is something
Possession.
that people can experience, and it is possible that someone who is suffering from schizophrenia is also experiencing that. It is possible. Um, many people in psychiatry would immediately write that off as being not a thing,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
However, there are certainly stories, and it would be nice if there'd be some case reports, right, of people who have schizophrenia, been diagnosed, seek that type of care, have depossession healing done, which is really um, just restoring their own spirit's power and assisting that other spirit that was invading, intruding, whispering in their ear, trying to control things, um, helping that spirit onto a place of compassion in their own spiritual progression. So that compassionate depossession work is helping to re-empower the living being and is assisting the deceased. And it can be life changing for people. I mean, I've done this work on professionals, other physicians who've had struggles, and they're like, can you just check and see if maybe this is what I need? And almost instantaneously, their life shifts
Isn't that
to a better
amazing?
space again. Yeah.
Gosh. Recently, I saged one of my clients because I just thought, you know what? Um, all the tools that I've learned from ASAP, I used and they were helpful, but I thought, let's get to the rice and the tofu of this. So we went into the kitchen area of where my office is. I said, nobody ever comes in here. So then I just lit the sage and then let this go all over her. And then we wound it into her biofield. And then afterwards, she was a whole lot clearer.
Hmm.
I thought, there's something to this. I don't know if I could sage through Zoom or not, but it seemed to really help clean things up for her. And I thought, okie dokie. Something
Well, the power of intention can go a long ways.
that's true.
So never
That's
say
true.
never.
Yeah, never say never. But I just like to do the really cool things that we all learn at ASEP. And, whenever somebody does the traditional stuff, I respect that, but I'm thinking, oh, there's so much more that you could do to help people. But I have to,
Quickly, yep,
yeah,
quickly, easily, and without re-traumatizing.
and I just have to take a breath and know that this is their journey as practitioners and not to open my big mouth. But it's just such a joy to be able to help people and have these extra out of not extra. I call them essential tools, not extra tools, but essential tools to help someone. But tell us more about your journey. What happened when you were young? And yeah,
Yeah,
I want everybody to learn more about that too.
yeah. So when I was young, I grew up in the bedroom that my grandpa died in. So, and that he died about 4 years before I was born. And I would see him. sometimes. And he would always be standing there in his pinstripe bib overalls, and he never spoke. He would just stand there, and it would generally come up. And I mean, it can still happen. So this is not necessarily new. I just know how to communicate with him now, but I didn't then,
Mm.
right? And it would come. He would show up under times of stress. Like if I was really upset, I would see him, and so then, with I have a cousin with schizophrenia. So of course, I'm having this experience. Does this mean I'm crazy, right? Does this mean I've got something diagnosable? But it wasn't ego dystonic,
Mm.
right? There was no it wasn't causing me it was confusing. Like what does that mean? Why is he there? But it wasn't like haunting every moment of my life, right? And then, then I had that experience when I was young with the theophylline. And, taking that into, shortly thereafter, I started subscribing to Psychology Today in seventh grade. And
Seventh grade.
in seventh grade, yeah. And was
Cool.
really convinced I was going to become a brain surgeon because I was going to fix people's brains. That was my goal. And but I'm left-handed and I don't tie knots that well. So probably not a good fit for me. But Psychology Today was really fascinating, and I continued to subscribe to that as I was gotten into high school, and then found out that there was a major called psychobiology. Who knew, right? There were two places in Iowa that offered it, and I went to the one that was further away from home, and it was a better fit for me anyway. And that passion for how because of having this cousin with schizophrenia and knowing how much suffering and struggle it caused for his whole family, um it became really important to me to understand how could that suffering be eased, because obviously our medicines for those disorders are heavy duty meds, lots of side effects, um, causing all sorts of fallout, just to help someone be able to stay stable, be able to stay at home, not be institutionalized, etc. And so that continued to propel me forward. And, eventually getting to the point of, going to medical school and then becoming a psychiatrist. But then the same things were still there, the same meds, really heavy duty. And come to find out, especially when you start training in functional medicine, you find out more and more about the huge detox issues, the huge inflammation load, that, all of this, oftentimes these folks have difficulties detoxifying, difficulties with chronic inflammation that includes their brain, right? So the brain being mostly fat, if you are exposed to pesticides, welcome to Iowa, um, and welcome to our cancer rates, right? And so these pesticides that we're exposed to, they're in our rain, according to our state forester. We had a conversation about that when I moved out to our farm. And he's like, yeah, the rain comes and it follows the jet stream from Missouri. And, while there's these same chemicals are being used here, yours are actually from Missouri. And that this is where they come up in the clouds and then they drop as rain. And this is the damage to the 150-year-old bur oaks on your farm. He's explaining the size of the leaves and what they're supposed to look like. And this is from Roundup. And so just finding out that we are continually exposed to pesticides, poisons, toxins, in the water, in the air we breathe, and the rain that comes down on us, and the food we drink and eat, even if it is organic, still getting exposed to these things. So those pesticides pile up in your fat cells. And then when you try to lose weight, let's say someone goes on a GLP-1 or gets
Mhm.
into a real, they drop weight rapidly. Those fat soluble toxins recirculate like 9 times before they finally come out of your bile. And so as they recirculate through your bile, going back into your bloodstream over and over again, they tend to concentrate in your brain. So this can actually make people much worse when they're losing weight really rapidly if they're not on a heavy binder regimen that's carefully managed with their primary or their psychiatric care provider who's familiar, or their functional medicine doc. Because of rapid weight loss, people actually can lose cognitive capacity. They can become more depressed or anxious or more unwell with regard to psychosis. And so these things have to be really carefully contained and followed. You can't just like take one of these meds, lose a bunch of weight, and expect there to be no fallout. So it's really, it's learning how to navigate all of that became really important living here in Iowa. And so I end up supporting my patients as they're going through these things the best I can.
Wow, that is so beautiful. I'm not a fan of GLP-1s. Known a couple people who have tried them, but I'm like, what about just lifestyle change and little movement and less sugar or no sugar, and some really good farm fresh fruits and vegetables? What about that instead of the CRAP that you're eating? And
Well,
nothing, I'm sorry for anybody that, I mean, everybody has their own choice, but anybody that eats fast food, God bless you. I don't know what the heck. It might, you think it might taste good, but honestly, you're not helping your body by doing that. And if you have
well,
brain fog, okay, it's, you might want to take another look at that. Anyway, okay, Joan, get off that.
well, one of the things that we can do with that is actually do some genetic testing, like a 3X4. There's other brands out there that can look at people's detox pathways, look at their methylation cycle, look at how they metabolize energy, and look at how they concentrate. Like it's really hard to move certain types of fat cells. It's really hard to detoxify, let's say. And so you end up getting this genetic blueprint and go, okay, no wonder it's been hard for you to lose weight because you got a double hit from your parents. You got you didn't lose, you lost the lottery there. And so you can find out where people struggle the most, but then you're able to show them this is not like hopeless here. It's more about where do we need to support you better so that your lifestyle goals or your weight loss goals or your brain fog no longer goals or your mental health goals can improve. So I'll give you an example because this is just completely insane. Um, so I just started using this genetic test, and my one of my patients said, "I want to be your guinea pig. I want to try this test because I really want to get rid of my treatment-resistant depression." She's been through 2 rounds of TMS, ketamine for a couple years. It really helps her, but there's still room for improvement.
Mhm.
And come to find out, caffeine, which she deeply enjoys, her coffee in the morning, throughout the morning, actually is likely to make her more depressed, according to her genetics. What she
Mm.
inherited, how she metabolizes caffeine, actually is not helping her detox pathways, despite caffeine being a powerful antioxidant. How her body metabolizes it is not good for her. And it could make her less depressed if she stopped. So she did. And within a week and a half, she messaged me back and has um, family has noticed a difference. She has more energy. She's able to actually get accomplished tasks accomplished. And she's like, I would have never dreamt this in a million years that caffeine was contributing to my depression.
Oh my
But
God.
for her unique genetics, it was.
So, Dr. Husman. I mean, traditional doctors, do they even know about where would somebody get this test? They have to go to a functional physician or
Well, it's a test that some doctors offer. It's not a test covered by insurance. However, because of the information received being lifelong value, right?
Yes.
It could definitely guide treatment strategies, lifestyle strategies, supplementation strategies, and hopefully improve one's health. For
Okay. Again, what is this test called?
this particular test is called 3x4.
3x4.
Hmm.
Everybody, 3x4. Ask your doctor, I guess, primary care if they're not under the care of a psychiatrist.
Well,
or
it
nurse
is
practitioner?
something that is certainly offered by integrative docs, functional medicine docs. There may be some primary cares that use it, but it does have several categories, for heart disease, bone health, eye health, etc. Brain health as a whole piece, which of
Okay,
course
I'm
that's
picturing
important.
this in my head.
The
3X,
letter X,
the
4.
letter X, 4.
Mhm.
Wow. And if they don't know what it is, ask them to find out, or you do your own research, be your own advocate and find out about. Go to your good old Claude, Google chat, whatever, but find out more about this and ask your doctor. And yes, depending on what the issue is, if it is weight loss, if it is depression, if it is whatever it is that you're trying to work on to change your lifestyle, this may be of interest to you. So pay for it because I don't know how much it costs. Do you know how much it costs?
$300.
You know what though? 300 bucks. A couple of my clients took something similar to it to find out what medicine was best for them
Hmm.
with their bipolar
Yep.
disorder.
Yep. Genomind and GeneSight.
GeneSight,
There's a
yeah.
couple. Yep. Yep. There's
And
and
they went on
there
a payment plan.
and those tests are about 350,
Okay.
and they cover far fewer genes, but all the genes that they're testing relate to all the classes of psych meds and pain relief meds. So, ADHD, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, and pain, ADHD meds. So all they cover the cytochrome P450 enzymes in your liver as far as how you're metabolizing each of those meds, which does not guarantee success or failure. But it can show you why you've had terrible side effects from all these meds. Now we know the meds in those metabolized by those enzymes that you are a poor metabolizer at, and you're getting multiple times higher the blood level than you're supposed to. No wonder you had side effects.
Okay.
And that can be really affirming for someone who's struggled and been told it's all in your head that you're
Yes,
having these side effects,
yes,
right? It's
yes,
not
yes.
fair.
Oh,
And then those tests also look at a couple of the methylation SNPs, which are important, but they're only part of the methylation cycle. They look at BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. They look at COMT, which is a COMT helps clear neurotransmitter waste. You have to renew these, right? And when you're a poor metabolizer of COMT, you have higher levels of dopamine, norepinephrine, but that can be harmful to have too much. On the other hand, having too little can also be an issue. And so that's and there's a few like the serotonin transporter and a few other transporters for these meds. So it's a suite of tests designed to support someone who is curious and not wanting to try randomly multiple classes of meds
right,
until they find
right.
something that works. So it's really it is interesting because there are many psychiatrists out there in the world who think these tests are completely a joke,
Right.
worthless, or um, not of value. And I think, if someone's been through a few meds, I think it can be a very useful tool because it doesn't take very many med trials and failures with those meds for someone who already is coming to you for a mental health condition to lose hope.
Yes.
And
Thank you, because it breaks my heart when people um when I'm doing an intake and I go, have you been in counseling before? Or, oh yes, I've seen 7, 8, 9, 10 therapists. And I'm thinking, well, were any of them helpful? Sometimes it's just a matter of they left the agency, they
mhm,
retired,
yeah,
whatever happened, or they're very nice, but all we did was talk therapy. I go, oh yeah. So I offer some additional interesting things, but I haven't met any physicians or nurse practitioners. I have one that might be open to this, and I will discuss it with her. Just amazing what can be accomplished if you have more information.
mhm, yeah. I
Having
mean,
more information. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
that increase in information is, again, these genetic tests typically they don't change much over time. Both of these genetics companies, though, have increased the number of genes they test over time.
okay.
And they do also, obviously, there's new data, new information, and so recommendations may change over time as well,
No,
right? So if you've had um, an assessment done several years ago with 3x4, you can update it. And there are new, they have your genetic material. They don't share it with third parties. But if they add new genes, you can get an updated report,
that is
which is
so
pretty
cool.
nice. Hmm.
It's fascinating how science continues to expand.
Yeah,
So
it
instead
really
of
is.
just throwing it at the wall to see what sticks, that's what they used to do, folks, in the 20th century. Now we're in the 21st century, and there are additional options. And I'm sorry to say, insurance isn't meant to cover everything. So please get off of that idea that my insurance is going to cover everything because sometimes it doesn't. And that's when you have to decide if you want
Hmm.
more information so you can feel better faster. Oh my gosh, this has been so fabulous. I almost want to cry. This discussion is fascinating, and you brought so much information to us. This book, again, I love it. And I don't suppose you'd ever consider getting licensed by reciprocity in Pennsylvania or Florida.
One of the things about the compact license option for physicians is that it is unlike for therapists where it's pretty simple. It's just as much work licensing with each state, so it doesn't really shorten the workload. And
Okay.
each state requires sometimes vastly different information. It's really strange. Um, but never say never.
Never say never. Well, in Pennsylvania, we are licensed professional counselors, licensed marriage and family therapists, and we have a variety of people under the LPC and LMFT license that do really cool things, art therapy, music therapy, equine therapy. But
Beautiful.
we've just recently, Governor Shapiro has signed into law the counseling compact. Having said that, we aren't live yet.
Ah,
So when
well,
I go to
hopefully
my
it'll be soon.
Oh, really? Because I mean, there are about 5 states, and there's a reason why Pennsylvania is called the Keystone State because we're right smack dab in the middle. So as soon as that happens, then I'll be applying for reciprocity. But we have to jump through some hoops too. So, but whatever they are. Okay, all my angels and guides and everybody else who's listening, help me get involved with other states. But okay, Joan, get back to the present topic. This has been
So,
so fabulous.
can I share a secret with you?
Ooh, and everybody else on the planet too?
Yeah,
Oh,
potentially.
okay.
So, there is a group of researchers that I'm a part of that is working on creating a study using a specific type of shamanic journeying for those who have PTSD, combat vets specifically.
Oh,
So as a whole health model, as a complementary integrative health model, not as psychotherapy, not as a replacement for psychotherapy or their medications or their treatment, right? This is an adjunct, complementary strategy to see if this will provide relief. There is a little bit of data out there using shamanic healing for PTSD for combat veterans with success, but this is like case reports, small case series. And this would be an actual study with crossover to look at could teaching those individuals who've been through trauma of that nature to shamanically journey, could that in and of itself restore hope, improve vitality, reduce pain, reduce core PTSD symptoms? That's what we're looking at.
it is such an honor to know you.
Thank you so much, Joan. The same for you.
Oh gosh. My heart is full. Thank you so much. Now, where can Iowa and Colorado reach you? Just
So
go to
the
your
easiest
website.
way for my psychiatric practice
Mhm.
is vitalitypsychiatry.net. And for my coaching and wellness practice, where I provide shamanic healing, coach shamanism, instruction, healing touch, and coaching using energy psychology, they can reach out to mammothhills.com.
Yes. Now, and if anybody in Pennsylvania or Florida would like to try something different because healing is more than talk, please feel free to contact me, Joan at joankaler.com. And thank you, everybody who's listening in and watching. It's my intention to bring you the best of the best. And I think today I hit the nail on the head. So thank you all for listening and watching. And until next time, namaste.
Thank you.